I want you to breathe for a moment, not the shallow breath of someone simply existing, but the deep, grounded breath of someone who is about to enter a new chapter of their life. Because right now, in this moment, you are standing at the threshold of a decision that can alter the trajectory of your destiny forever. And I don't say that lightly. There are moments in life when something inside you wakes up, something ancient, something powerful, something that refuses to keep living at half strength. And when that part of you rises, it doesn't whisper, it roars. It says, enough, I'm done settling. I'm done shrinking. I'm done pretending I'm not meant for more. This right here is that moment. Because the truth is, every breakthrough in human history, every transformation, every revolution, internal or external, began with one decision. The decision to take massive, unapologetic action. Not the hesitant kind. Not the I'll try kind. Not the kind that waits for permission or conditions or guarantees. I'm talking about the kind of action that rewires your identity, that shatters old limitations, that pulls you forward into a life you haven't even tasted yet. You and I both know something. There's a gap between what you're capable of and what you've been showing the world. And the reason that gap exists is not because you're weak or broken or unworthy. It exists because somewhere along the line, you were conditioned to believe that playing small was safer than stepping into your own power. Maybe it was a moment from childhood. Someone telling you to calm down, be quiet, stop dreaming so big. Maybe it was a failure that conditioned you to fear trying again. Maybe it was years of being told who you're supposed to be instead of discovering who you truly are. We've all had experiences that carved invisible lines around our potential, and then convinced us those lines were real. But hear me now, they're not real anymore. Because the greatest illusion in the human experience is the belief that our past defines our future. But life doesn't care about your past. Life responds to your decisions, your standards, your actions. And the moment you decide to shift from passive living to active creation, everything changes. You felt it before, even if only for a moment. That surge of possibility, that spark of clarity, that instant when something inside you says, this is who I'm meant to be. And then the mind, conditioned, familiar, addicted to certainty, whispers back, but what if you fail? Let me tell you something with absolute certainty. Certainty is the enemy of growth. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. The human spirit was not built for confinement. It was built to expand, to stretch, to rise, to break barriers. And yet, most people spend their lives standing at the edge of who they could be, looking out at their own potential like it's a distant landscape, beautiful but unreachable. They tell themselves stories. Someday, when I have time, when I feel ready. But someday is the slowest death sentence ever written, and readiness is a myth. You don't need readiness. You need hunger, because hunger has built empires. Hunger has rewritten destinies. Hunger has turned ordinary human beings into forces of nature. And hunger, real hunger, is not polite. It's not comfortable. It doesn't negotiate with your excuses. It doesn't wait for motivation. Hunger is a fire that ignites massive action. It is the voice that says, I will no longer live at the mercy of my fears. I will no longer accept a life that doesn't reflect who I truly am. I will rise, I will break through, and I will make my life a masterpiece. But hunger alone is not enough. Hunger must be paired with identity, the most powerful force in the human psychology. Because every action you take, every decision you make, every risk you avoid or embrace is driven by one thing: the story you believe about who you are. If you see yourself as someone who always falls short, you'll sabotage your own progress. If you believe you're not worthy of success, you will reject the very opportunities that could change everything. If your identity is built on past pain rather than future possibility, then you're living in a psychological cage. But cages crumble the moment you stop accepting them as truth. And that begins with a single, sacred moment of awakening, the moment you decide, with certainty, to take back control of your life, to stop reacting and start creating, to stop shrinking and start expanding, to stop waiting and start moving. Massive action is the catalyst, not because action guarantees success, but because action guarantees momentum, and momentum is the lifeblood of transformation. You can think your way into a corner, but you can act your way into power. You can analyze yourself into paralysis, but you can act your way into clarity. You can dream yourself into frustration, but you can act your way into fulfillment. Action is the antidote to fear. Action is the birthplace of courage. Action is the bridge between the life you have and the life you desire. And when you take massive action, not sporadic, not convenient, not half-hearted, but massive, consistent, committed action, life begins to bend around your will. Doors open. Opportunities emerge. People appear. Serendipity accelerates. Because the universe doesn't respond to indecision, but it will move mountains for the person who moves with conviction. And that is where we begin. And there's something almost mystical about what happens when a human being finally decides to stop negotiating with their limitations. You can feel in your physiology. Your chest expands. Your breath deepens. Your eyes sharpen with a kind of primal focus. Because in that moment, you're no longer identified with a part of you that's afraid. You're identified with the part of you that's unlimited. But I want you to understand something on a deeper level. Massive action is not just about movement. It's not about being busy. It's not about grinding for the sake of appearing committed. Massive action is about alignment. The alignment between who you are, what you believe, what you value, and what you're willing to do to honor the calling inside you. Because every one of us has a calling. That whisper that shows up in the quiet moments. That surge of excitement that hits you when you imagine a life beyond the one you're living. That vision that won't leave you alone. It's not random. It's not accidental. It's a signal. A message from the part of you that remembers who you truly are. Most people ignore that signal because answering it demands something from them. It demands courage. It demands honesty. It demands a willingness to step into uncertainty. But if you really think about it, uncertainty is the birthplace of every miracle you've ever witnessed. Nothing extraordinary has ever been born from comfort. Nothing legendary has ever emerged from safety. So the question becomes, what identity are you willing to step into? Because you can take all the action in the world, but if you're carrying the identity of someone who doubts themselves, you'll sabotage your own progress. If you're carrying the identity of someone who's afraid to outgrow the people around them, you'll shrink every time your potential expands. If you're carrying the identity of someone who thinks they're not enough, no amount of achievement will ever feel like success. Identity is the root, and when the root changes, everything changes. So let's talk about that identity, the real one, the one buried beneath the layers of conditioning, fear, and habit. There's a version of you that is bold, fierce, relentless. A version of you that doesn't wait for opportunities but creates them. A version of you that feels fear and moves anyway. A version of you that doesn't negotiate with old stories because it's too busy building a new destiny. That version of you is not a fantasy. It's not a dream. It's who you are when you strip away the noise. And the only difference between the person you are and the person you're meant to be is the actions you've been willing to take. Breakthroughs don't happen because someone simply wants them. Breakthroughs happen because someone raises their standards so high that the old version of them no longer has a place to stand. Breakthroughs happen because someone decides to stop accepting excuses as truth. Breakthroughs happen because someone, maybe for the first time in their life, says, I'm done being the prisoner of my own mind. And once that decision is made, everything accelerates because there's a force inside every human being, a force that can move through pain, through uncertainty, through doubt, through fatigue. And that force is awakened the moment you stop living at the level of your circumstances and start living at the level of your potential. You've had glimpses of this force, times when you surprised yourself, times when you pushed further than you thought possible, times when you took a risk that didn't make logical sense, but something inside you knew, this is who I really am. Those moments weren't accidents. They were evidence. Evidence of your capacity. Evidence of your resilience. Evidence of your power. Evidence of the unstoppable force you become when you choose action over fear. And now you're being called to step into that force not for a moment, but for your life. Because here's the truth. Bold, unfiltered, unavoidable. Your life will not change until you change. Your results will not transform until you transform. Your destiny will not elevate until you elevate. And that elevation begins with a single decision. The decision to demand more of yourself than anyone else would ever expect. The decision to take ownership of your emotional state, your habits, your environment, your destiny. The decision to say, this is my life, and I refuse to live it on autopilot. You can feel the weight of that truth, not as pressure, but as possibility. Because deep down, you know you've been playing below your true level. You know there's more inside you, more strength, more creativity, more courage, more brilliance. And it's been waiting for you to claim it. So claim it, right here, right now, not later, not someday, not when it's convenient. This is the moment your life begins to shift. This is the moment the old you begins to dissolve. This is the moment you step into the identity of a creator. Someone who doesn't wait, doesn't wish, doesn't wander, but decides, commits, and acts with a level of certainty that makes the world take notice. And once you take that step, once you start moving with that kind of energy, that kind of hunger, that kind of fire, the universe responds. Not with resistance, but with awe. It responds because life rearranges itself around the person who refuses to be denied. Life opens its doors for the one who knocks with intention. Life bends for the one who is willing to bend themselves first. Their patterns, their beliefs, their emotional defaults, their conditioned limitations. And if you've ever wondered why some people seem to rise while others stall, why some leap while others linger, why some transform their world while others repeat the same year of their life over and over again, the answer comes down to one fundamental truth. Most people never learn to command their own mind. But leaders, real leaders, life changers, destiny builders, they master it. Because if your mind is not your ally, it is your captor. And the chains it uses are subtle. Hesitation, fear, doubt, distraction, overthinking, the seductive comfort of the familiar. These chains don't feel like chains until the day you wake up and realize you've been living the same script for years, maybe decades, and you're still waiting for the right moment to become who you're meant to be. But hear me, the right moment is not coming. It's here. It's always been here. It's just been waiting for you to rise to meet it. Your mind is a weapon, but like any weapon, it's either dangerous or powerful, depending on who wields it. Untrained, it's chaotic. Conditioned by fear, it's limiting. But trained, aligned, commanded, it becomes the single most unstoppable force in your life. But training your mind doesn't begin with meditation or journaling or rituals. Those are tools. The real training begins with a single, unshakable decision. I will no longer let my emotions, my stories, or my past run my life. I am taking control. That decision shifts psychology. It shifts how you breathe, how you move, how you stand, how you speak. It shifts the conversations you allow into your world, the habits you tolerate, the standards you set. Because when a human being raises their standards, life has no choice but to rise with them. And that's where discipline enters the arena. Not the kind taught through punishment or pressure, but the discipline born from clarity. The discipline that emerges when you know exactly who you are, exactly what you want, and exactly what you will no longer accept. People say discipline is hard, but the truth is, indecision is harder. Regret is harder. Waking up a decade from now, realizing you abandoned your own potential. That is a pain far greater than any discomfort discipline will ever ask of you. Discipline is not suffering. Discipline is self-respect. It is a declaration that you are worth the effort, worth the time, worth the sweat, worth the sacrifice. And when discipline merges with identity, when you no longer force yourself to act like the person you want to become, but you begin to feel like that person, then action becomes natural, power becomes natural, progress becomes inevitable. But every breakthrough requires friction. Every transformation demands tension. Every rebirth begins with a disruption of the familiar. You cannot become who you are meant to be while holding on to who you were. There are layers of you that must fall away. Old habits, old expectations, old relationships, old beliefs, old stories. And this shedding, this evolution, it feels uncomfortable because your mind loves patterns. It loves predictability, even if those patterns are destroying your potential. So when you begin to rise, your mind will test you. It will whisper old fears. It will pull out old memories. It will try to seduce you back into safety, not because it hates you, but because survival has been its job for thousands of years, not fulfillment. Your soul wants expansion. Your mind wants protection. Your destiny requires that you learn how to lead both. This is why courage is not the absence of fear, Courage is a domination of fear. Courage is a decision that your vision is more powerful than your wounds. Courage is a certainty that even if you fail, you will rise again stronger, smarter, sharper, more aligned. And in that certainty, fear loses its throne. Because fear is loudest right before the breakthrough. Fear screams when you're close. Fear shakes when you approach the edge of a life beyond your comfort zone. But listen to me. Fear is not the signal to stop. Fear is a sign you are exactly where you're supposed to be. People think obstacles are a sign they should turn back. No, obstacles are the invitation to rise. Obstacles are the training ground for the future you're building. Obstacles are not the enemy. They are the forge. You want strength? You want confidence? You want certainty? You don't get those by avoiding challenges. You get them by confronting challenges head-on, by refusing to bow, by refusing to break. Resilience is not genetic. It is built in the moments you want to quit, but kept going. In the days you felt empty, but showed up anyway. In the nights you doubted everything, but still held the vision. That's where warriors are made. And that warrior, that force, that unstoppable version of you, is not some distant dream. It is the identity waiting beneath every excuse you've ever told yourself. Your greatest self is not far away. It's buried under layers of hesitation. And massive action is the bulldozer that removes those layers and reveals the truth. You are powerful beyond measure. You are capable beyond comprehension. You are here for something more than survival, more than comfort, more than repetition. You are here to create, to lead, to expand, to ignite, to become. And the moment you accept that, fully, completely, without hesitation, your entire life begins to shift in ways you can't yet imagine. Because once you step into a life of creation instead of reaction, something extraordinary awakens inside you. The realization that you are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are not bound by the conditions of your past. You are not limited by what others believe about you. You are the architect, the sculptor, the composer of your own destiny. And when you start living from that place of internal power, that place of absolute responsibility, you stop waiting for life to deliver opportunity, and you start generating it. You stop hoping for change, and you start commanding it. You stop seeking permission, and you start giving yourself the green light every single day. Because the truth is, every ounce of greatness within you is activated the moment you decide to take action without needing the world to validate you first. The moment you stop living for applause and start living for mastery. The moment you stop measuring your progress by comparison and start measuring it by commitment. Purpose is not discovered. It's built through aligned, committed, relentless action. Identity is not found. It's forged through repeated decisions that reflect your highest self. Destiny is not given. It's claimed through courage, through hunger, through discipline, through the willingness to step into a world larger than the one you've known. But purpose, identity, destiny, none of them reveal themselves in the planning stage. They reveal themselves in motion. Motion is life. Motion is creation. Motion is the antidote to suffering. You want to change your emotions? Move. You want to change your confidence? Move. You want to change your results, your career, your relationships, your future? Move. Because life does not respond to idle intention. It responds to decisive action. You shift your state, and everything shifts with it. You shift your focus, and the world rearranges itself. You shift your standards, and miracles begin to unfold. And that's why I tell people all the time, nothing changes until you do. Not your environment, not your finances, not your energy, not your relationships, not your opportunities, not your destiny. You have to become the catalyst. But becoming the catalyst means confronting something most people never want to face, the truth. Not the truth of the world, but the truth of themselves. The truth about the actions they haven't taken. The truth about the excuses they've accepted. The truth about the gifts they've suppressed. The truth about the potential they've buried under fear, under distraction, under the illusion that tomorrow will somehow be different. But tomorrow is shaped by today. And today is shaped by the decisions you make in this moment. And you know this. You felt this. There have been times in your life when one decision, one moment of courage, one step forward changed everything. A relationship that began because you took a chance. A career shift that happened because you refused to settle. A breakthrough that arrived because you pushed past a fear that once felt immovable. Life rewards the bold. Life elevates the committed. Life opens doors to the ones who are willing to walk through them, even when they can't see what's on the other side. Massive action is not blind. It's not reckless. It's not chaotic. Massive action is the most powerful form of clarity, because when you act massively, you get feedback. You learn. You adapt. You evolve. You refine. You grow. Your vision becomes sharper. Your identity becomes stronger. Your confidence becomes unshakable. You can't think your way into certainty. You build certainty by showing your nervous system evidence that you are a person who follows through, that you are a person who moves forward, not backward, that you are a person who refuses to negotiate with their inner critic or their outer circumstances. That's how you build a kind of intrinsic power that people feel when you walk into a room. Not because you're loud, but because you're aligned. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you've mastered yourself. Alignment is a frequency, and when you rise into that frequency, you attract everything that matches it. Opportunities, relationships, breakthroughs, momentum. People call it luck, but luck is simply the byproduct of consistent action meeting aligned intention. You probably had moments where you said, "Why does it feel like everything is working against me?" The answer, more often than not, is that your actions weren't aligned with your highest identity. You were acting from fear rather than hunger, from habit rather than vision, from comfort rather than purpose. But when you flip that, when you start taking action from the identity of the person you're becoming, instead of the identity of the person you've been, life stops working against you and starts working with you. This is a shift. This is a revolution. This is the ignition point most people never reach because they're too busy avoiding the discomfort that actually contains the breakthrough they're searching for. Growth is uncomfortable because it strips away everything that isn't you. Every story you inherited, every limitation you believed, every emotion you suppressed, every fear you never questioned. But on the other side of that discomfort is a clarity so powerful it feels like the world has been reborn. And the only way to reach that level of clarity is to move, to act, to commit, to push through the resistance instead of running from it. Because resistance is the signal that transformation is taking place. Resistance is the doorway. Resistance is the invitation. And when you walk through that doorway with courage, with hunger, with faith in your capability, something extraordinary happens. Your power returns to you, not the kind of power the world gives, the kind of power the world cannot take away. And when that power returns, when you feel it rising through your chest like a forgotten fire being reignited, everything that once intimidated you begins to shrink, not because the obstacles disappeared, but because you expanded. Because the moment you reclaim your internal power, the external world loses its ability to control you. That is the essence of personal freedom, not the absence of challenge, but the presence of mastery. And mastery begins with emotional control, the ability to influence your internal state regardless of circumstances. Because if you cannot command your emotions will command your actions. And if your emotions command your actions, your life becomes a reaction, not a creation. Think about it. How many people make decisions based on fear instead of purpose? How many sabotage opportunities because their nervous system is conditioned for survival, not success? How many stay in relationships, careers, environments that diminish them because the discomfort of uncertainty feels more threatening than the pain of staying stuck? The quality of your life is the quality of your emotional mastery. Every breakthrough you desire, confidence, purpose, success, intimacy, fulfillment, is on the other side of mastering your emotional state. Because when you master your emotions, you stop negotiating with fear. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop needing external conditions to feel powerful. Power becomes a state you generate, not something you hope will show up. This is where true transformation begins. When you stop letting your environment dictate how you feel, and you start letting your values dictate how you act. Most people live backwards. They wait to feel good before taking action. But leaders, creators, warriors, they act their way into emotion. They act their way into clarity. They act their way into greatness. Massive action is emotional leadership in motion. When you choose action despite discomfort, Your nervous system learns a new truth. I can move even when it's hard. I can progress even when I'm scared. I can create even when I don't feel ready. And that truth, repeated again and again, becomes a new identity. A person who does what needs to be done. A person who is unstoppable. A person who is no longer controlled by their old patterns. Because patterns are powerful until you break them. And once you shatter a pattern, it loses its grip. You've had patterns that kept you small. That's not shame, that's human. But what separates those who rise from those who remain stuck is the willingness to break the pattern with action, not with wishing, not with waiting, not with talking. With action. Action is the wrecking ball that destroys limitation. Action is the hammer that reshapes identity. Action is the sculptor that carves your future out of the raw stone of your present reality. And once you take enough action, something extraordinary happens. You begin to trust yourself, not in a superficial way, but in a deep, primal, soul-level way. Self-trust is one of the greatest forms of power a human being can possess. Because when you trust yourself, you become fearless. Not because you believe you'll never fail, but because you know you'll rise every time you fall. And that kind of trust makes you untouchable. The world cannot intimidate a person who trusts their ability to adapt. Circumstances cannot break someone who trusts their resilience. Obstacles cannot stop someone who trusts their resourcefulness. Self-trust is built through repetition, through promises kept. Every time you act on your word, you reinforce a sacred message to your mind. I can count on myself. I follow through. I am dangerous in the best way. And once your brain believes that, your entire life begins to accelerate. Because life responds differently to a person who trusts themselves. You walk differently. You speak differently. You make decisions differently. You approach opportunity differently. You face challenge differently. You radiate a different kind of energy. An energy that says, I will not be denied. That energy is magnetic. It draws the right people. It repels the wrong ones. It opens doors that struggled to open before. It creates momentum where there was stagnation. It awakens something powerful, not just in you, but in everyone who comes into contact with you. Human beings are moved by certainty. We feel it. We sense it. We trust it. We follow it. And when you take massive action long enough to embody certainty, everything around you begins to shift. But I want you to understand something critical. Certainty is not the absence of doubt. It's the decision to move anyway. Certainty is not the absence of fear. It's the refusal to give fear authority. Certainty is not confidence in the outcome. It's confidence in yourself. That kind of certainty is available to you right now, in this moment, not because your life is perfect, but because you are capable of rising above imperfection. You are capable of adaptation, reinvention, resilience, creation, growth. And when you combine capability with commitment, capability with courage, capability with massive action, you become unstoppable, not metaphorically, literally unstoppable. Because the human spirit, once awakened, is the most powerful force on earth. And your spirit is awakening now. You can feel it. A stirring, a burning, a rising, a deep knowing that there is more for you. Not because you're lucky, not because you're entitled, but because you are ready. Ready to step into your next chapter. Ready to become the person you were meant to be. Ready to stop living at half capacity and start living at full expression. Ready to take action so massive that life has no choice but to respond in your favor. You are not here to be average. You are not here to be invisible. You are not here to tiptoe through life hoping to arrive safely at death. You are here to expand, to create, to lead, to break cycles, to build a legacy, to stand as a force of nature in a world that desperately needs people who have awakened their power. And the next step of that awakening begins right now. Because once you reach this point, this threshold between who you've been and who you are becoming, there's only one direction left: forward. Not cautiously, not quietly, not politely, but powerfully, intentionally, relentlessly forward. This is where destiny is shaped, not in a classroom, not in a journal, not in the silence of meditation. Destiny is shaped in the arena, where you act, where you risk, where you sweat, where you rise again and again and again. And stepping into the arena means embracing a truth most people run from. Your future will demand more of you than your past ever did. Your past demanded survival. Your future demands mastery. Your past conditioned you. Your future calls you. Your past tried to define you. Your future is begging you to redefine yourself. But you cannot create a new life with an old identity. You cannot claim a powerful destiny with a powerless story. You cannot build a future while clinging to the emotional patterns of your history. There must be a shedding, a releasing, a letting go of who you thought you needed to be, letting go of the fear of disappointing others, letting go of the guilt that kept you playing small, letting go of the expectations that were never yours to carry, letting go of the beliefs that were handed to you, not chosen by you, because every powerful transformation begins with a courageous release. People talk about breakthroughs like they're explosions, sudden, dramatic, cinematic, but the truth is, breakthroughs are decisions, quiet, private, internal decisions that no one sees at first. Decisions that say, I refuse to betray myself anymore. I refuse to settle for a life that doesn't set my soul on fire. I refuse to be imprisoned by the memories of who I used to be. I refuse to live one more day without honoring the greatness that lives inside me. This is the seed of transformation. This is a crack in the old identity through which a new identity begins to emerge. And once that crack opens, once that light enters, once that possibility is acknowledged, there is no turning back. Because now you know, now you're awake, now you've tasted the truth of what you are capable of. And once a human being tastes possibility, they can never go back to pretending they are powerless. There is something inside you, a fire, a hunger, a vision that refuses to die. Even in your darkest seasons, even in your most painful moments, even when you doubted everything, that fire kept flickering. And the only reason it flickered instead of extinguishing is because you were never meant to play small. You were never meant to shrink. You were never meant to disappear into the background of your own life. You were meant to rise, to exceed expectations, to break patterns, to rewrite stories that generations before you never had the courage to challenge. And the way you do that, the only way you do that, is through massive action aligned with your highest identity. Not the identity you inherited, but the identity you choose. Not the identity defined by fear, but the identity defined by purpose. Not the identity shaped by pain, but the identity shaped by vision. And what is that vision? It's the version of you who no longer negotiates with excuses, who no longer lets fear hold the steering wheel, who no longer waits for permission, validation, or perfect timing, who no longer apologizes for wanting an extraordinary life, who no longer dims their light to comfort others, who no longer abandons themselves for acceptance. It's the version of you who leads, who builds, who creates, who loves with strength, who walks with certainty, who stands with power, who acts with intention, who moves with purpose. That version of you is not far away. It is one decision away, one action away, one commitment away. Every great life, every legendary story, every massive transformation, they all begin with one moment where a person finally says, enough, I choose more. More meaning, more purpose, more courage, more love, more creation, more challenge, more growth, more life. But choosing more requires giving more effort, more focus, more discipline, more vulnerability, more heart. And that scares most people. They want the transformation without the sacrifice. They want the glory without the grit. They want the outcome without the commitment. But you're not most people, or you wouldn't still be here. You wouldn't be reading this with your heart pounding and your mind awakening. You wouldn't be leaning into this fire, ready to walk through it instead of running from it. You are here because something inside you knows that you were built for more than the life you've been tolerating. Something inside you knows that your potential is not a rumor. Something inside you knows that your gifts are not accidents. Something inside you knows that your soul is tired of playing small. And when the soul gets tired enough, it stops whispering politely. It starts demanding. It starts calling. It starts roaring. And that roar, that internal roar, is the birthplace of massive action. It's the moment where desire becomes decision, where hope becomes commitment, where vision becomes movement, where someday becomes now. This is a turning point. Not because of the words you're reading, but because of the warrior inside you who's finally waking up. The warrior who's been waiting for you to stop hesitating, to stop holding back, to stop dimming, to stop doubting, to stop living a life that insults the power inside you. That warrior is rising. That warrior is remembering. That warrior is ready. And the world will feel the impact of that awakening. And when that warrior rises, fully unapologetically, without disguise or hesitation, everything changes. Not gradually, not subtly, instantly. Because the moment you access that internal warrior, you're no longer operating from the mind of who you were. You are operating from the identity of who you are becoming. And that identity has no patience for playing small. That identity doesn't ask, "Can I?" It asks, "How do I make it happen?" It doesn't say, "I hope." It says, "I decide." It doesn't whisper, "Maybe someday." It declares, "Now." Because when you finally step into your life with the full force of your potential, hesitation dissolves. Doubt weakens. Limitation collapses. You stop tiptoeing. You stop waiting. You stop bearing the parts of yourself that were meant to shine. And you begin to live with a level of intensity, focus, and conviction that most people never experience. This is the state I want you to feel. The state where your physiology shifts, where your breath deepens, where your shoulders pull back, where your chest opens, where your entire nervous system awakens to the truth. You are not here to survive. You are here to dominate your destiny. And domination is not aggression. It's not force against the world. It's force within yourself, directing your energy, your belief, your emotions, your focus with such clarity that nothing can pull you off your path. But to maintain that state, that warrior identity, you must understand something essential. Your environment shapes your destiny just as much as your intention. You can have massive hunger, unstoppable drive, powerful vision. But if you surround yourself with people who normalize mediocrity, who fear growth, who worship comfort, who complain more than they create, who shrink from challenge, who reinforce your old identity, that environment will swallow your potential whole. Because we become what we tolerate. So you must become the kind of person who refuses to tolerate environments that diminish you. You must protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. You must cultivate relationships that fuel your courage, not your excuses. You must surround yourself with people who remind you of your greatness, not your past. And if you don't have those people yet, then you must become that person for yourself. Because transformation begins internally long before it is validated externally. You have to be willing to stand alone in your evolution, to walk alone in your discipline, to rise alone in your hunger, to believe in yourself long before anyone else sees what's coming. All great creations began with a solitary believer, a warrior who said, "I don't need permission. I don't need applause. I don't need guarantees. I just need the courage to begin." And you have that courage. You know you do. You felt it for years. That quiet certainty that you were meant for more. That itch in your soul that refuses to go away. That inner voice that occasionally shouts, "Wake up, you're not living your full truth yet." That voice is not here to criticize you. It's here to call you up, not call you out. Because the version of you that's been living on the surface is not the real you. The real you is the one who shows up when your back is against the wall. The real you is the one who rises during chaos. The real you is the one who refuses to quit when everything feels impossible. The real you is the one who keeps getting up after life hits harder than you ever expected. That is who you are, and that is who you must bring to the table every single day if you want to experience a life that's calling for you. But let me tell you something powerful, something people rarely realize. When you take massive action, life stops testing you and starts trusting you. It's almost as if the universe says, "You're serious now. Let me open the next door." But that door doesn't open for the hesitant. It opens for the committed. And commitment is not a mood. It's a standard. It's a decision you make every single morning, every single hour, every single moment, especially when it's uncomfortable. Commitment is built in the days when you don't feel like it, in the mornings when you'd rather hide, in the afternoons when you want to take the easy path. In the evenings when your excuses seem reasonable. In the nights when doubt creeps in and tries to seduce you into mediocrity. Every time you choose action in those moments, you strengthen your identity. Every time you follow through, you sharpen your edge. Every time you honor your standards, you reinforce your power. Because standards are not suggestions. Standards are not preferences. Standards are not hopes. Standards are the non-negotiable laws by which your future becomes inevitable. And if your standards do not change, your life cannot change. Ask anyone who transformed their life, deeply, radically, permanently, and they'll tell you the same thing. My whole world shifted when I stopped accepting less than what I was capable of. That shift begins internally. It begins the moment you say, I refuse to live a life that dishonors my potential. But the moment you make that decision, truly make it, something extraordinary happens. Action becomes easier. Momentum becomes natural. Discipline becomes identity. Courage becomes your emotional home. Possibility becomes your default mindset. And fear becomes fuel. Because you finally realize that fear is not a stop sign. Fear is a compass pointing directly toward your breakthrough. If something scares you, it's because it matters. If something intimidates you, it's because it will grow you. If something challenges you, it's because it contains the next level of your evolution. That's why the people who transform their lives are not the ones who avoid fear. They're the ones who walk directly into it with their head held high and their soul on fire. They understand that fear is simply the threshold between the life they know and the life they crave. And if you want that life, truly want it, you must be willing to move with fear, not wait without it. Because waiting is a slow poison of potential. Waiting is how dreams wither. Waiting is how passion dies. Waiting is how people spend years, decades, lifetimes wondering what could have been. But not you, not anymore. You're not here to wonder. You're here to experience. You're here to create. You're here to break through. You're here to rise. And every ounce of that rise is fueled by one truth. Massive action is the bridge between the life you have and the life you are destined for. Because once you understand this, not intellectually, but viscerally, emotionally, at the level of your nervous system, you begin to approach every decision of your life with a different level of intensity. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I never try? You stop waiting for certainty and start creating certainty. You stop living by probability and start living by possibility. And that subtle shift, that internal recalibration, becomes a birthplace of destiny. But destiny isn't something you discover. Destiny is something you decide. Every breakthrough begins the moment you accept full responsibility for your life. Your results, your choices, your habits, your emotions, your energy, your impact. And responsibility is not blame. Responsibility is ownership. Responsibility is power. Responsibility is a realization that life doesn't happen to you. It happens because of you. And when you own that, when you claim that, you stop giving your power away to circumstances. You stop letting your past dictate your future. You stop letting other people's doubts, fears, or expectations limit what you're willing to become. You rise into a higher order of living, the level where your decisions shape your reality instead of your reality shaping your decisions. This is where the great ones live. This is where the innovators live. This is where the leaders, the warriors, the creators, the unstoppable forces of nature live. They are not the smartest. They are not the most talented. They are not the luckiest. They are the ones who decide, with absolute certainty, that they will no longer negotiate with their own potential. And that decision, when followed by massive action, becomes a catapult that propels them into levels of life most people never even taste. But let's be real. The moment you decide to rise, life will test you. Not because it wants you to fail. Not because it wants to punish you. But because every breakthrough requires a shedding of the old self. And the old self doesn't let go without a fight. The old self clings. The old self resists. The old self whispers, it's too hard. It's too risky. What if you're not enough? What if it doesn't work? And this is where most people shrink. Not because they lack potential, but because they don't understand psychology of transformation. Here's the truth. Every new level of life demands a new level of you. The moment you stretch into unfamiliar territory, the moment you pursue a vision bigger than anything you've lived before. You will feel discomfort. You will feel uncertainty. You will feel fear. Not because you're weak, but because you're growing. Not because you're failing, but because you're evolving. Growth is the friction between who you were and who you're becoming. And that friction is not a sign to stop. It's a sign you're exactly where you need to be. When a snake sheds its skin, it rubs against rough surfaces. Not because it wants pain, but because the old layer must be removed for the new one to emerge. You're shedding your old identity, your old patterns, your old limitations, your old narratives, your old stories of I can't, I'm not ready, or it's not the right time. And that shedding process is uncomfortable, but it is necessary, because nothing extraordinary can grow on the foundation of an outdated identity. You cannot create a legendary life with the psychology of survival. You cannot build a future while defending your past. You cannot unleash your greatness while investing in your excuses. There comes a moment, a defining moment, when you must choose. Do I stay loyal to the version of myself that keeps me safe? Or do I rise into the version of myself that sets me free? And this is the moment you're standing in right now. The moment where everything can shift. The moment where your past loses its grip. The moment where your future becomes negotiable once again. The moment where you reclaim authorship of your story. But don't be fooled. A decision alone is not enough. A dream alone is not enough. A desire alone is not enough. You must move. You must act. You must execute. You must follow through at a level of consistency that shocks your old identity into silence. Because action is what rewires belief. Action is what restores confidence. Action is what reshapes your internal blueprint. Action is what transforms a dream into a destiny. And not just any action, massive action, relentless action, uncompromising action, action that aligns with your highest standards, not your lowest moods. Because your entire life changes the moment your standards become higher than your excuses. That is the real turning point. People think breakthroughs come from inspiration. They don't. Inspiration creates momentum, but momentum dies without standards. Standards create identity. Identity creates action. Action creates results. Results create belief. Belief creates transformation. But it all begins with the internal decision to hold yourself to a higher standard than anyone in your life ever expected of you. And when you do that, when you raise your standards beyond negotiation, when you say, this is who I am now, and this is what I demand for myself, when you follow through even when it's inconvenient, even when it's boring, even when nobody is watching, that is when your life becomes unstoppable. That is when you start living with the inner fire of someone who refuses to settle. That is when you walk into rooms with different energy, an energy that says, I'm here, I'm ready, and I'm not backing down. That is when life begins to meet you with opportunities, resources, people, and circumstances that match your new identity. Because life does not give you what you want. It gives you what you tolerate and what you insist upon through your actions. And you are done tolerating the life beneath your potential. You are done settling for fine. You are done abandoning your dreams for comfort. You are done ignoring the calling that has followed you for years. You are ready. You are prepared. You are rising.